Hey guys, so for this project I'm going to be making some different types of cakes to deliver to my friends. The first thing I did was went ahead and preheated my oven to 350 degrees, and then I got my baking pans ready. Basically all I do is measure out the pan with the parchment paper and use a pair of scissors to cut off the correct length. And then I just measured the parchment paper that I just cut and make a second cut because this pan is a square, so each parchment paper just needs to be the same size. Next, what I like to do is spray the pan with nonstick spray, that way it acts as a glue for the parchment paper. And then I put the parchment paper down and trim excess as needed. The reason I chose to make little cakes is because the way I communicate is through baking and giving to others, and I really miss my friends right now, so I decided this would be something nice I could do to show them that I miss them and that I appreciate them. The point of the parchment paper is so that your cake does not stick to the pan, and that way you can lift the cake out of the pan easily whenever it's done cooling. What I do next is spray the parchment paper with nonstick spray just to make sure nothing's gonna stick. Then you're going to need to boil some water for the chocolate cake recipe. Start off the dry ingredients for the chocolate cake. I sifted 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Then I sifted 2 cups of sugar. And I sifted 3/4 of a cup of cocoa powder. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda. Next I put in 1/2 cup of oil and a cup of milk. Then I added 2 eggs to the mix. And 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Then I just mixed all of that together. Then you're going to add your 1 cup of boiling water. Don't worry, this water looks a little cloudy because I still had a little bit of milk at the bottom of this measuring cup. But trust me, adding this boiling water will help make your cake so spongy and so moist, it's worth it. I can't help but notice my dog licking the counter. She loves to be in the kitchen next to me when I'm cooking, and she loves to have her nose up in everything that I'm making. Then I just poured the batter evenly into 2 pans, and then I put them in the oven for 30 to 35 minutes. Next, I am making a red velvet cake, and due to quarantine, I am trying to not go to the store as much, and I needed buttermilk for this recipe. So just add a cup of milk to a tablespoon of white distilled vinegar, and you can make buttermilk. Then I just added 1 cup of unsalted softened butter, and then I added 2 cups of granulated sugar. Then I am creaming those two together. Then I added 4 eggs to the creamed mixture, but you have to alternate. So you have to add your egg and then combine, and then add your egg and then combine with all 4 eggs. Next, I added 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and I added 2 tablespoons of sour cream. I know you don't usually see sour cream in cake batters, but this is what is going to help create a chemical reaction that makes the cake a dark maroon color. Next, just combine all those ingredients. And now add 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour to a separate bowl. 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. I just sifted all of those together into my batter mixture, and then after that I added my buttermilk. The next thing I did was add some more red food coloring, because you do need to make the mixture a little bit red, that way it can get super deep maroon, and so that's what I did. Next, I just transfer it to my baking pan, and then I put it in the oven for 35 minutes. Due to limited groceries right now because of quarantine, we are out of powdered sugar, so I'm going to make some from regular sugar. So just add your measurements of sugar into a food processor, and then turn on the food processor from 5 to 10 minutes, and then sift out the sugar, and you should be left with homemade powdered sugar. I am making mini cakes for my friends, so to make the layers of cakes I used a cookie cutter to cut layers of the cakes from the pans that I made earlier. I did this with the chocolate cake and with the red velvet cake. Next, I cut the cake layers into half to have more layers and to make more cakes for more of my friends. Then I just added a little bit of frosting to a cardboard cutout that I made to hold the cakes, and then I started adding swirls to the cake with cream cheese frosting that I made with the powdered sugar and cream cheese and vanilla. After I added little swirls, I just added the second layer of cake and continued the same process. Then I added the third layer of cake, and I added really pretty swirls on top as decoration. I added a skewer in the middle of the cakes to keep the cake layers together while I drove in the car with these little cakes. But this is the final product, and some of them came out better than the others, but I promise you they looked so pretty in person, and I delivered them to my friends after this. Thanks!